It truly does not matter how many tanks or ships or bombs or rifles or F-15s or nuclear weapons that you have. Every single one of those platforms has a weakness, and it's the human mind. If you would like to understand how to compromise the mind of your enemy, join us over at Patreon. If you would like to find out the real story behind social media censorship and how it's not what you think it is, join us. In today's video that we posted only about a couple of hours ago, we talk about two specific techniques for mind control: Dunning-Kruger and the halo effect. Those of you who've already seen it know exactly what we're talking about. 24 cognitive biases, 24 logical fallacies, used in tandem, used in combination, devastating effects. But you have to know. You have to know how. Not only to use them, but how they're being used on you for $1 per month, not per video, not per week, refundable. You can get read in. Many people have said, Florida Maquis, this isn't really my cup of tea. I watched your stuff, and I think it's really too much truth for me. It's too graphic. I can't handle it. Can I have my dollar back? Sure. Absolutely. Not a problem. We've been able to partner with Vimeo to be able to do this, and it's been a blessing. And I'm sure you'll see people down in the comments below this video that will attest to what I've said. It's worth the dollar. There's also 3 books I would like to suggest. Charles G. Fournel, Rise of the Maquis. Carolyn K. Brancato, The Night Belongs to the Maquis. And, of course, Ian Wellstead's SAS with the Maquis in Action with the French Resistance. This was one of the reasons that I was perplexed. It made me scratch my head. How could so many people misspell my channel name? Why do they call it Marquis, M-A-R-Q, over and over again? Books have been written for years about the Maquis. In fact, the largest science fiction franchise in the entire world that virtually everybody on the planet's heard of, Star Trek, included it in virtually every single iteration of its franchise. That's where all of these images come from. Now, some people think I'm overstating the case. Florida Maquis, I think you're just a little girl crazy. I think you're just a little too focused. The girls in the bikinis. Really. This was the secret of all good terrorist undergrounds. They had to fight wars by different rules. They were outgunned. They were outnumbered. They had to live on the run. So they had to use tactics that have been used for millennia, going back to even the Bible times. I also suggested another show called Homeland. Now, it's on Showtime, but in 8 seasons, it'll walk you through how prevalent this is in militaries and alphabet agencies around the world. But some say, but it's not relevant to us, Maquis. It's not relevant to the modern era. We need to be worried about the current medical situation. Really? Predominantly female Iranian spy ring busted in Israel, 13 January 2022. Four women and a man are suspected of assisting an Iranian intel operative. Israel's security service, Shin Bet, says it has busted an Iranian spy ring made up of 4 women and 1 man, all Israeli nationals of Iranian origin who collected sensitive information in exchange for money. I'll let you figure that one out in your head. How did they get that information, and was it really about the money? Now, here's the mind-boggling part. Had it been 5 women, they would have never been busted. The guy decided to go full hoo-ah and push a little bit too far, and one of the women got her nose bent out of shape and lost operational security, blew it, and got busted. Strangely, 3 January 2022, IDF to open female-only combat platoon to accommodate religious servicewomen. To be incorporated into one of the existing mixed-gender battalion seminaries have reportedly made clear women want to serve if religious obstacles can be overcome. I'm sure this is an issue, however, I very much doubt it is the only issue. And militaries around the world are seeing this. We live in an age where information is critical. And everybody's walking around with phones. And everybody's walking around with a whole bunch of stuff bouncing around their head that can compromise their units, compromise their buddies, compromise governments, operations, everything. And men have a weakness. I'm just going to come out and say it. Men have a certain weakness. And it's highly exploitable. And these are real-world stories from just the last month, the direction this is going. Now, earlier today, with absolutely no input from me whatsoever, just to be clear, the Patriot Nurse put up a video talking about toxic egalitarianism and the failure of modern feminism as relates to the current 2020 sniffles. You see, it goes right along with this. It goes hand in hand with this. That the world is changing fast. And there are those who thought that they could reshape it in their image, and they failed. They failed miserably. They failed miserably. You see, many people think that these tyrants have total control. They're the ones who are totally out of control. This is what they feel every single day. Out of control. They try to push modern feminism, modern toxic egalitarianism, and their belief systems onto the populace. And the backlash has been global and something they can't handle. So who's really in charge? Who's really in control? Listen to this video if you guys have a chance. I'm sure a lot of you already have. Patriot Nurse absolutely nails it. But you Bitcoin folks, I haven't forgotten about you. I'm sure a lot of you thought I was going to skip it today. There's another piece of information out, another article that's going to make you scratch your heads about the future of cryptocurrency. See, it had its little rally, but now it's heading back down again. Why? Sweden to launch exceptional measures amid 300% rise in electricity prices. Same thing's going on in Germany. What's going to happen when these miners, when that number ticks down to a point where it no longer makes any sense to mine Bitcoin, to shut off the rigs? Because if you think these governments are going to start paying people's electric bills and helping them out with programs to get through when the vast majority is being sucked up by crypto miners, think again. Europe's going to start to ban them. And when Europe starts to ban them, along with Asia, along with the Middle East, along with the other 50 countries that already have, it's going to cause a cascade effect. And trust me, I don't care if you're in Solana or Cardano or Ripple or anything like that. It's all going down when Bitcoin goes down. It is all going to go down when Bitcoin goes down. Now, on another topic, ships from 1,581 ports may go to Antarctica bringing unwanted guests. I'm sure a lot of people would be surprised to hear that. We have 1,500 ports that are sending ships to Antarctica? Yep, absolutely. And they're worried about contamination. There are so many ships heading to this region now because of the change in the climate. And you don't have to believe all of the reasons they assign for the warming climate to look with your own eyes and go, yeah, Antarctica is melting. in a way that it hasn't historically. Things are going to be found down there, and it's going to rewrite all sorts of history. People have talked about Megalodon. There have been Megalodon teeth found here in Florida, all over Florida. I know one of my regular viewers and my former ex-mother-in-law found one herself. But I want to show you a picture. I believe this was taken off the coast of, is either California or Mexico. I'll have to look this up. Of this very large great white shark swimming, and this guy swam up behind it. Something decided it was going to snack on a great white shark. Now, I'm not totally down on all of the big predator species in the ocean. But usually, if it would have been an orca, I don't think the shark would have swam away from that. Orcas hunt in packs. And this doesn't look like an orca bite. Wrong kind of teeth. So something took a chunk out of this thing and let go. There are stories all over that nobody is seeing that are pointing to something in our future about Antarctica. Icefish breeding colony of 60 million active nests found in the Weddell Sea. Shouldn't be there. 60 million nests. Even these researchers are saying this is unprecedented. Unprecedented colony represents a fish biomass of more than 60,000 tons, 135 million pounds. Now, what could be farther up the food chain? For this to exist, there have to be animals down there eating this many fish, or they would have died out. Meaning they have something to eat and something is eating them. That's a healthy ecosystem. They're in the middle. And if there are this many ice fish in the middle of the food chain, meaning, once again, they have to have enough to eat to maintain the numbers, and they can't have no predators because if they overpopulate, they'll run out of food. So for there to be a nesting site, meaning they're breeding, meaning they're healthy, meaning everything's doing well for this particular species, there's something very different going on down there. Something very, very different. There's this concept known as polar gigantism. And normally they apply it to deep sea growth. Sometimes they call it abyssal gigantism. And everybody's seen the large oarfish and the large squid. And there's a couple of things that contribute to this. Kleiber's rule. I'll let you guys look this up. Kleiber's rule, Kleiber's rule, and Bergman's rule. States that Kleiber's rule, animals that are bigger are generally more efficient. A cat, having a mass 100 times of a mouse, will only have a metabolism 32 times greater than the mouse. So they're more efficient. I'd mentioned Andre the Giant before. I found this picture and I thought this would be a great thing to show because it shows him next to real world things as opposed to just in a wrestling ring next to guys that are also pretty big guys. This is him sitting across two seats in a plane with his head. I can't even really see how close it is to the overhead bins, but it's got to be real close. And this is his hand holding a can of beer. A can of beer looks like just a little bit bigger than a D battery in this guy's hands. Giants are real. And this is from PubMed, Polar Gigantism and the Oxygen, sorry about that, Temperature Hypothesis, a test of upper thermal limits. I'll give you guys a link to this, but some might ask, Florida Maquis, if there's giants, why don't we find the bodies? Same story with Bigfoot. Why has nobody ever found a skeleton? Well, real simple. I think they bury their dead. And lo and behold, one of the finds down here in Antarctica that we uncovered many years ago was this burial mound near the edge of this cliff by a cave. Would explain a lot. And there could be. We found skulls laying across the ice all over the continent. 6 or 7 of them. We did a video on that, probably 2 weeks ago. And the bodies could very well be under the ice, even buried under the ground that's sitting under a mile of ice. Perfectly preserved. All you'd have to do is go find them because of the bitter cold. And the last thing I'll show very near this, there's actually a couple things I wanted to show. They talk about this hellscape of ice and wind that's just impossible to survive. Well, that kind of ice, when it's blown, acts worse than sand does with a sandblaster. Everything would be sandblasted down. Things wouldn't stick up like this. Even rock would get sandblasted down over a matter of a couple of years. What are all of these things sticking up? And the last thing I'll show, very near to where this burial mound is, and you'll have to excuse the angle of the camera, flipping this around. There's some type of writing right here, and I'm not sure. There's some type of a mark in the snow that they've made. This isn't some normal natural formation. The best I could ever make out with this is it looks like the symbol for pi. This looks like a symbol for 2. And this looks like a symbol for R. And then there's what looks like a V. So those of you who know about geometry know what pi 2r is. And its relation to V. So, anyway. Things are happening. Things are happening far beyond what's being talked about. Join us over at Vimeo. Join us over at Patreon. Believe me, you will not regret it. God bless. Like, share, subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.